Hi friends, I'm Felicia. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing my March wrap up for you guys. I, for some reason, can never remember what month it is that I'm doing my wrap up for. I read 5 books this month, which is awesome because with 1 week left of March, I had only finished 1 book. And then in the last week, I finished 4 more books. So that was awesome. So the first book that I finished in March was Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. I don't think I need to tell you much about this book because, I mean, it's been pretty popular the past few months. But I absolutely loved it. I loved just every story in it. And I think if you are someone that is a fan of the Lunar Chronicles, then I really think that you would enjoy this as well. I wouldn't say it's necessary reading by any means, but some of these stories are really interesting and they add a lot of backstory and origin. So if you like that kind of stuff, then I think you would really enjoy this. The next book that I finished was the Book of Negroes, and that is by Lawrence Hill. That was supposed to be my February pick for my Canadian author exploration project, but I only got like 20% through in the month of February, and then I read 80% of it in March, so I'm counting it for my March book, and February didn't get one. Sorry, February. In the States, I think it's published as Someone Knows My Name. I think that's the other title. The story starts off in the 1700s with a young girl who is taken from her village in Africa, and she is captured by slave traders and taken to America as a slave to be sold as a slave. The story is told from her point of view, just recounting all of the events in her life and kind of her journey from her life in the village before she was taken, and just follows her all through the rest of her life. It was just extremely difficult to read and extremely heartbreaking, just knowing that this was just the reality for thousands of people, and is still a reality for people today, just in secret, not so blatant. Yeah, it was definitely very hard to read. This is certainly not for young readers. It deals a lot with rape and sexual assault, and yeah, just the inhumane, dehumanizing treatment of these people that were captured and sold into slavery, and people born into slavery for that matter, and just everyone involved in that. And it certainly is very hard to read at times. I think it's worth reading just for the historical significance of that. The idea from the book comes from a real document called the Book of Negroes, which was it was a ledger of escaped slaves that were living in New York, wanting to go to Nova Scotia, where they were promised land and such from the British. If they were loyal to the Queen, then they could take advantage of that and move to Nova Scotia. Not that that necessarily worked out the way that what they were promised, but yeah, that's kind of where that inspiration comes from. And so our main character, Mina, in the book, she is the person responsible for actually the one writing down all the information in the ledger. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this to people that have an interest in that time period and that subject. It was very well written. I did have some issues with the pacing, just because it seemed like we focused a lot of time in, like, a large part of the plot was like in 1 month, and then all of a sudden we would just like skip years, and then it would be the next chunk of her life. Yeah, I just kind of had an issue with that sometimes. Not that it really took away from the story, it just felt a little bit choppy, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I did really enjoy the book. I think I'm glad that I read it. It was not enjoyable, but I think it was definitely worth reading. So I would recommend that if you are interested in that, and I will be trying to collect my thoughts a little bit more about it, and then I will do my author highlights video on that coming up soon, hopefully. So the next book that I finished was Entwined by Heather Dixon. And this is a book that I've had on my shelf forever. And I actually borrowed the audiobook from the library and I listened to it on the audio. Don't you just love this cover? Oh my goodness. I love it. Okay. So this is a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses fairy tale. And I really enjoyed this book. I thought it just felt like a perfect fairy tale. I really liked the writing. It was easy writing style. And it felt properly whimsical, I think. But yeah, if you like fairy tale retellings, I would definitely recommend this. In my opinion, it's just very sweet, and I really liked the story because it's based on the 12 Dancing Princesses. There is a big emphasis on family, and I really liked the romances in this book as well. Yeah, overall, I just highly enjoyed this book, and I would recommend it to anybody that is a fan of fairy tale retellings. This is a good one, in my opinion. And the audiobook was very good as well. The narrator did a really good job of kind of differentiating voices, even with, 12 girls and all the other characters as well. I really enjoyed it, so yeah, I like it, and I recommend it to you. Yikes. Have some more chai, Felicia, because you need to be more hyper right now. The next book that I finished in March was Anne of Avonlea by Ellen Montgomery, and so this is book 2 in the Anne of Green Gables series. I don't think I need to tell you my feelings about Anne of Green Gables. This book is absolute perfection. I love Anne with all of my heart, and yeah, no one will ever be able to convince me of anything negative about these books, because they're just so delightful and sweet and heartwarming and beautiful. They just make me so proud that Ellen Montgomery was Canadian and that these are Canadian books, Canadian classics, and I just love them so much, and I'm very excited to move on to book 3, which is Anne of the Island. Anne of the Island. I get the order mixed up, so yeah, I'm not going to blither on about my feelings about this, because if you haven't read any of the Anne books, I'm sorry, but I don't know what you're doing with your life. In case you're wondering about my edition, I always get this question. This is published by Tundra Books, and the illustrator is Ellie McKay. Then the last book that I finished was A Little Something Different by Sandy Hall. This was another book. I probably bought this around the same time that I bought Entwined from Book Outlet Yale, because I used to have a crazy addiction to Book Outlet, because when I started book 2, that's just what the thing was to do. I have very mixed feelings about this book. On the one hand, it was really adorable, and I liked the love story in it. If you haven't heard about this book is told from 14 different perspectives around the couple that it's focusing on. So isn't actually told in the point of view from the couple that it's about. So I thought that was really interesting. So that's why I wanted to pick this book up. So yeah, the story was cute, but my biggest problem with it was that the writing felt really juvenile. Like, this felt like it was supposed to be a middle grade book, because the writing was just so juvenile. I know a lot of people love this book, and yes, it was adorable and very sweet. I read it in 2 sittings, which hardly happens to me anymore. Like, if you're looking for something very cute and just easy and fast to read, like, definitely pick this up. Yeah, I did like that it kind of felt like one of those cheesy chick flicks from my teenage years. So I did like that, and it was kind of like it was a throwback to that for sure, with the meet cute and just kind of like the situation. So I feel very meh about it. Like, it was okay, and I know that other people loved it way more than me, so don't just take my word for it. But yeah, so that is A Little Something Different by Sandy Hall. So those are all of the books that I read in March. I would love to know if you have read any of these books, what your thoughts were, and what you read in March as well. And yeah, I just thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, so long and thanks for all the fish.